Thank you for joining me. This photo was taken at Melbourne Zoo of my grandson Joshua. I prepared a sketch from the part I want to make a painting from. And these are the various stages I went through until the final painting was done. I prepared my sketch. I transferred it to my Arch watercolour paper, and I've stretched it and stapled it to my board, and it's bone dry, tight as a drum and ready for painting. I've wet the area of the face a couple of times and I let the sheen go off, indicating that the water has sunk into the paper. The colours I'm using are raw sienna, a little alizarin crimson with ultramarine blue into the mix for the shaded parts. I've wetted the area for the jacket and I'm dropping in a varying mixture of ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson. I'm dropping in the stronger tones that I can see in the areas of the photograph. The reason why I wet the paper first is at this stage I want to diffuse the pigment into the paper to give soft edges. I'm putting in stronger tones into the already damp paper. Again, I've wetted the paper for the hair, and the tones I'm using, or the pigments I'm using, are Naples yellow, raw sienna, burnt sienna, dropping them in alongside each other and let them diffuse on the paper. I'm using the same skin colours for the hand, raw sienna and alizarin crimson. The collar and cuffs are green, and for this I use winter green and cadmium yellow. This completes the first stage of painting. I'm going to add the complementary red to the green mix to darken the green to paint the inside of the cuffs. Now the t-shirt is black, but I want to paint it a different colour. I'm going to paint it a purple colour by using alizarin crimson and ultramarine blue. And the lips are painted with alizarin crimson, and I'm making sure that I preserve the highlights. I've pre-wetted the face area again, and I'm now going in with some cadmium red so it gives a nice healthy glow. I just add the pigments where the strong tones are. Now I'm strengthening the tones for the hair. At this stage we still want the soft outline, so it is pre-wetted. I'm going to darken the tones on the jacket again, and I'm going to do this in a continuous wash by using a strong tone and watered down wash in between. Again, I'm following my photograph and looking where the stronger tones are. I like to have a varying mix on my palette of ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson so that I can alter the tones and values on my paper as I progress with my wash. All the while referring to my photograph. I'm looking for the negative shapes, so I try not to copy the photo too slavishly. I add the dark tones and then all the time softening the edges using a damp brush. And I'll let the sleeve dry before I do the area of the shoulder. And there we are, we can see the second stage completed. I'm just going to paint the shaded side of the face using the skin colours, which is raw sienna and Alizarin Crimson with a little ultramarine blue added to the mix. Again, the paper has been pre-wetted and I still want the softer tones. I've just added some cadmium red to the mix and blending it in. Again, soften it off with a damp brush. And going in with some stronger tones on the left hand side, which is where the shaded area is. Going around the eye socket and the nose. And then I use a damp brush to take off the excess paint and to soften the edges. And follow the cheek down and soften it off. Now the other side of the nose, but I must make sure I maintain the highlight down the middle of it. This is going around the eye socket and the underside of the eye. All the time I'll be softening it off. More cadmium red into the cheeks. These are very, very dilute washes. Cadmium red's a very staining colour and it's hard to take off once you put it on. So I build it up in slow stages. Now I'm doing the painting the upper part of the lip. And as I go across the face, this is all one continuous wash, don't forget, the tones become lighter. And put some more shape into the nose and the cheek. But don't forget, soften it off as you go. It takes a lot of patience to do this, I find. And doing another continuous wash on the jacket. Very fast wash this time, and this helps to blend in any hard edges that was in the underpainting. Very quick wash, and I vary the colours as I go. To remember, it was ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson. I only use a few colours when I'm doing a painting because it helps to unify the painting. Now I've rinsed out the water on my brush, dampened it on a tissue. You can see me dampening and I'm taking out the highlights with a damp brush. Put stronger tones in the sleeve now. But I've got to remember that I've just painted the shoulder area and I don't want the paint to go into that, otherwise it would bleed together and I'd lose the highlighted edge. Now for the pupils, I've dampened the paper and I'm dropping in some Aureolin, which is a yellow. And now I'm adding a dilute mix of ultramarine blue on the outside. You see it's gone over the Aureolin, and all I've got to do is draw out the excess paint with a damp brush. And anyway, the yellow and the blue will mix to make a greeny colour. And now the lips. This time I'm going to use cadmium red on the lips. I'm doing the upper part of the lip and then the centre part, and I shall leave the middle to maintain the highlight. And again, it's only a thin wash. I shall be coming back into it and add in more pigment where the stronger tones are. I paint the bottom of the lip, and now it's a dampened brush so that it maintains the roundness of the lips. Now I'm strengthening the tones on the hand again, and where the palm of the hand is, there's some redness, so I'm adding the cadmium red and blending it again with the skin tone mix of raw sienna and alizarin crimson. Coming down with the cadmium red again, just under the chin area, and trying to sculpt the shape of the fingers now. Now I'm adding in some ultramarine blue, very weak mixture, to blend in with the cadmium red, and that's the end of stage 3. Right, I'm going to paint round the inner eyelids with a pinkier mix of raw sienna and alizarin crimson. And now I'm going to darken up the pupil with ultramarine blue. Stronger mix this time. And as I go, I'm going to soften the inside edge with a damp brush. And the same for the other eye. Soften off that inside edge. Now using a dark mix for the nostrils. Now I'm putting in a shadow colour mix of cadmium red, raw sienna with a touch of ultramarine blue. Gone right down into the neckline. I'm lightening it off now with cadmium red on its own. Soften that off with a brush to maintain the highlight. And down the middle, the centre of the nose. Take the wash right across the face, but don't. As I go across to the right hand side, I'll be lightening it off, because that's where the light is coming from. It's painting under the lip. It's painting where I see the tones. I've got a various mix of washes on my palette. It does help to have them ready made up so that you can do it all in one continuous wash. Light tones on the sunlit part of the face. And I'll take out some of the pigment to make it soft with a damp brush. More tones on the jacket. All the time referring to my photograph to get the stronger where the creases are in the jacket. Soften them off as I go. That's the part where the zip is. I'm going in with a finer brush to there. I've done some dotted lines for the stitches in the jacket, and now the parts of the zip. Softening off the edges again. And now the ear. And that completes the full stage of the painting. I've now put in some eyebrows. This is an underwash. Now painting in the crease in the eyelid with just a slightly stronger wash of the skin tone. So it's raw sienna alizarin crimson and a touch of ultramarine blue. This is a crease in the eyelid. And this is the corner of the eye. And this is where the eyelashes are. It's just a eyelash underwash on the top eyelid. I'm now adding the eyebrows with burnt umber. Very fine lines. I don't want great details there. You can't. It's impossible to draw every hair that's there. It's just a suggestion with very little detail. They will fade out when they dry. It's getting to be the exciting stage of the painting now, because we're now adding fine details. I'm going to put the blacker part of the darker part of the pupil. It makes the eyes come alive now. Now the outer edge of the pupil, it's going to be with the same sort of darker mix. As using ultramarine blue, little alizarin crimson and raw sienna. It makes those eyes really stand out now. Just soften off the inner part of the Now I'm adding the upper eyelashes, and it's just dabs of paint. I just want a suggestion of eyelashes, no detail. I can't see any detail in the photograph. And now strengthen up the tones between the lips with alizarin crimson and a touch of ultramarine blue. With the same mix, adding a little smirk at the corners of the mouth, and I'll soften that off. And again on the left hand side. And now adding the bottom eyelashes. And again, it's just dabs of paint, no detail. A bit too strong, so I just dab it with a tissue. Here I'm just extending the crease in the eye. We'll just soften that off. There's a slight shadow on the jawline. It's a very subtle shadow, but it does help the shape of the face. Strengthen the tones for the inner part of the ear. Soften that off as I go. Now we're going to strengthen those tones on the collar and the cuff with Windsor green and cadmium yellow. I can add cadmium red to the mix just to darken the green. Red being a complementary colour of green on the colour wheel, and that darkens it. And here we are going in with the darker red, darker mix on the inner cuffs. Slightly lighter on the outside edge there of the inner cuff, and I've just put a small lighter green in alongside. Darken the collar and under the chin. Especially alongside the hand. Makes the hand stand out. An even darker mix by the hand and down the collar edge. Just adding ultramarine blue. And this will make the hand come forward. Soften that off. Just defining the fingers with stronger tones. And the creases in the wrist, referring to my photograph all the time. And these darkening off under the chin and where the hand is, I decided that I needed that to be darker by the hand. I've put some glints in the eyes with white gouache and a few strands in the hair. Put the strengthen the seams on the jacket and the zip. I've gone about as far as I want to go. I don't want to spoil my painting by overworking it, so I'll probably put it away for a day or so, because you need to step back and come back in a couple of days to see if it needs any more areas retouching. Hope you've liked it. Hope you've learnt something. I've certainly learnt something. I don't profess to be an artist. I'm just following a hobby, that's all. And the more I do, hopefully the better I can become. Thanks for watching.